We typically think that ISO shouldn't matter in a RAW photo. It's the same as boosting the exposure slider in post, right? Well, according to my results on the A7 IV, A7C, and A7R5, the sensors do appear to be switching to the second gain circuit at some ISO higher than the first base value. And the weirdest part is this circuit seems to yield cleaner results. When paying attention to the majority of the image, the color noise does increase as the ISO values increase, and unlike a JPEG, the noise doesn't seem to reset after the second base ISO, just to climb up again. However, when boosting and matching the exposure of different ISO values in post, you can see that any ISO after the second base value actually has cleaner deep shadows and blacks than even the actual first base ISO. In other words, the luminance or pixel noise actually seems to decrease once you flip to your second circuit. Take ISO 100 when exposure matched to ISO 6400 on the A7 IV, and you'll see that 6400 actually has cleaner shadows. Ultimately, I think this should be the takeaway. If you can get the right exposure in camera when shooting RAW, keep your ISO as low as possible. It's really the noise in the black levels and then your really dark shadows that does drop when you flip to your second base ISO. But if you have proper exposure in camera, you're not even going to see it anyway. Where I do recommend flipping to your second circuit or your second base ISO when shooting RAW photos is if you know you're going to be boosting your exposure in post. Because when you do that, you start dragging up all the nasty noise and artifacting from your shadows and your blacks, and that's when you can start to see that stuff. And for whatever reason, there's way more artifacting and just like way more gross noise at the first base ISO or at that first gain circuit. At the end of the day, noise reduction, AI noise reduction especially, in something like Lightroom is so good nowadays, I don't really think any of this matters. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. This is probably the nerdiest video I've ever made, and I promise you it won't be my nerdiest video that I ever make, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't seen part 1 where I test this theory on JPEGs, go check it out.